Good evening and welcome to Turnip's World IP Day live stream. This is the fourth year in a row that we are conducting this event. Thanks a lot to everyone who signed up. You have not disappointed with your enthusiasm to learn about intellectual property rights and to discuss about IPR. So every year, WIPO comes up with a very pertinent topic related to IP. So this year, the theme is IP and Sustainable Development Goals. For those of you who are not familiar with SDGs, these are United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. As per UN, these are the biggest challenges faced by planet Earth. And it is a collective call to action for all countries of the world to work in these areas. You can go to Google and search for the 17 SDGs that form part of the biggest problems of our planet and for which innovators are actively seeking solutions. And IP plays a key role in being a catalyst for innovation. So that will be the theme of discussion today, in addition to practical insights on IP strategy, commercialization, market access, finance for innovative technologies, and more. So uh, uh, the format is such that for the first 20-30 minutes, we are going to have a Q&A, and then we'll open up the questions for the audience. So if the speakers would like, they can take up some questions while they are speaking. So now I will introduce our highly accomplished speakers for today. So first up, I'd like to bring in Ankita Tyagi. So Ankita is responsible for promoting innovation, bilateral cooperation, and market access in Indian Europe business corridor by identifying and liaising with relevant stakeholders through collaborations. She has 14 plus years of experience in IP, startup, and innovation ecosystems. She promotes public awareness, education, and policy on promoting science and innovation. She is the project coordinator of Living Lab to create proof of concept and scaling up of projects in Triple IT Hyderabad with Mighty Smart City Mission and Amsterdam Innovation Arena. She holds an applied sciences bachelor in instrumentation, master's in bioinformatics, postgrad diploma in IPR, and advanced certifications in data management and SDGs from the University of Illinois and the University of Michigan, respectively. Next up, uh, I'll introduce you to Mr. Nitin Sharma. So Nitin Sharma is the Senior Director, Technology and Patent Counsel at Qualcomm. Mr. Nitin Sharma, he has 27 plus years of experience in software and wireless communication industries in the fields of engineering, management, and intellectual property rights. He currently leads various intellectual property initiatives at Qualcomm. The key responsibilities include developing India patent prosecution strategy, 5G, AI, ML, technology, patent portfolio management, IP education, and driving initiatives around managing innovation in the organization. He works with R&D and engineering teams to identify and protect IPR at Qualcomm. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering, LLB, LLM, and PGD in patent law from Nalsar, Hyderabad. He is also a registered Indian patent agent. Nitin has been recognized as world's leading IPR strategists in 2023 by IM Magazine, one of the most well-respected global law magazines. And he is passionate about advocating the importance of IP for India as a country, and in particular to academic institutions and startups. He also provides guidance to startups and entrepreneurs on IPR strategy. So, welcome, Nitin. Welcome, Ankita.
Thank
Really,
you.
really grateful to have you on the live stream. Uh, so, uh, so yeah, I was looking on LinkedIn for who I should, approach for, for the IP and SDGs theme that WIPO has set, and I thought that you would be a great match with with the experience and the topic that we have at hand. So I'll start with maybe Nitin. I think we saw that you have been helping academia and startups with IPR strategy. So maybe you can shed some light on the key things Indian academia should integrate, suppose in their IPR strategy. What should be their modern IPR strategy for Indian academia?
Sure. First of all, really, feel honored to be here today. I think it's always a great pleasure and learning experience to interact with academic experts as well as the other industry colleagues. So it's always a great opportunity to share and learn. So thank you. And I guess Turnip has been doing great job in terms of spreading awareness of IP. So Great to be here. Now, IP strategy, I think we hear this term a lot. So maybe if you allow me, I'll just take a minute or two to just describe what I would mean by an IP strategy, right? Um, Normally, if you see any organization, right, whether it's a startup, a company, big company, or an even academic institute, any organization uh, will have lots of strategies, right? So you see having a financial strategy, right? Startups having a financial strategy or a HR strategy, uh, and things like that, right? Or product development strategy, which is basically nothing but a plan of action or a plan to manage. Let's say if it's a financial strategy, it's all about managing finance, right? Where the money comes from, where do you spend, what are the priorities in spending, and so on and so forth. If it's HR strategy, it's all about how do I get the key human resource, right? Key skills for my product and things like that. If it's a marketing strategy, if it's a sales strategy, again, it's all about what do I do, what is my market, where do I go and sell, and things like that, right? So when you look at IP strategy, it is in similar sense, it's all about managing your IP, right? In a financial strategy, money or finance is at the center, right? In human resource strategy, the human capital is at the center. Sales strategy, product, and it's things are at the center. For an IP strategy, I think innovation is at the center, right? Innovation is central part of it. So for any organization who wants to build an IP strategy, it is about how do you innovate, how do you create intellectual property, right? How do you innovate, how do you come out with innovations, how do you figure out what are the intellectual property in those innovations that you have done, how do you protect those innovations through these various protection mechanisms that we have in terms of patents, trademarks, copyrights, etc., right? So it's all about creation of it. Then it's also about protection of it, right? Where do you protect, right? Do you protect in India, outside? What do you protect? Do you protect, the ideas around the technical solutions you've come up with? Do you protect the artistic creativity? What is that, right? So all of that creation, then all of that protection, and then of course about why are you even creating this? What is the purpose of having an IP strategy, right? What are the goals and all this? And then that brings to you like what value you want to derive out of your innovations that you are creating, right? Every organization will have a different purpose for doing this. And just like any organization will have a different strategy, right? I know, I'm sure we all have seen companies come out with various strategies or mission statements, vision statements. Academic institutes have different uh, vision and mission, right? So basically, figuring out why you are creating all this, what's the value you want to come out of it, and that defines your commercialization aspects of IP strategy, right? And when I say commercialization, it could not only mean a direct revenue generation, which is like, hey, this is my set of patents, this is my technology, why don't you use it and give me money? Or it's not just that, right? It could also mean collaboration with other organizations. It could mean a lot more other things, right? Which we can go into details when needed. But the point I'm trying to make here is an IP strategy, if you see, will be a whole plan of action around your IP, right from creation, protection to commercialization, right? That's point number one. Now, point number two is if you ask any, if in an organization, if let's say if I'm a CEO of a company, I go and tell my CTO, CFO, say, hey, give me a financial strategy. They'll say, yes, fine. But is that enough for me to, I hire a new CFO and say, build a financial strategy for him. That one line statement is not enough, right? And that's the mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to IP, when then say, okay, what's the IP strategy I should have, the point I'm trying to make here is for a CFO to build a proper financial strategy, he needs to understand what CEO is aiming for, what the company's overall goals are, what kind of products the companies are making, what kind of markets they are looking for, what is the growth plan, what is the then he can come up with the whole financial strategy. Similarly, if I go and ask HR, hey, get me some best engineers, same questions will be there. Okay, what is that we are trying to build? Where are we going to build? All of that. Same things apply for IP strategy. You cannot just have a point that, okay, just build an IP strategy. Okay, fine, that's a starting point. But what is the goal? Where are we heading to, right? It cannot be a standalone IP strategy. And this is, in my experience, the biggest problem I see with startups, with companies who are fairly new into the IP world make that mistake, right? So the point number two I'm trying to make here is, hey, it's not standalone. If you want to build an effective strategy, whether it's an academic institute, whether it's a company, a startup, it needs to be as integrated with the rest of the functions of the company or organization as your financial aspects, your every other aspects are building, right? So the point number two I would like to make is, it's not standalone, right? It is well integrated. The third I can say is again a lot more relevant to academic world or also probably to startup world is that, hey, I have this, I come across professors and many others that, hey, I have this set of patents, but nobody is coming forward, or how do I license it and things like that. Now I would like to take a pause here and reflect what is intellectual property, or how does this whole thing fits into the whole ecosystem. If you really see, intellectual property is defined under as an industrial property, right? It is part of the Department of Industrial Promotion or whatever, right? Commerce, Ministry of Commerce, and then DPIIT and all this, which typically means it is actually a business tool. It is actually a tool for an industry, or those around that. It's actually a business tool. Now today, if as a startup I build a startup, right? I always will have a product in mind, but then I'll also have the users in mind, a market in mind. Most of the startups fail because they only think about an idea or a product, but not about market, the usability of it, and who cares for it. Now, same thing is for the IP. It is a product. And if you are looking at commercialization, you need to be very clear about what is the goal that you want to, or what is the value that you want to derive out of it. If your value is licensing, that means you're asking other persons to buy your product. So the same principles that are there to sell a product applies here also, right? I should create something which is acceptable by somebody else. Then only they will come and ask me that, hey, give it to me, right? Then I can give the value. So the other point I'm trying, or the point number three that I would like to make is that if you are creating an intellectual property, you need to have a very clear goal in mind, that how you want to use it. It could be licensing, it could be a collaboration tool, it could be your own ways of using it, or whatever. But I think that end, it should start with the end in mind, rather than, hey, I have created something and let's see who wants it, right? And that's a good approach. That's also can be an approach wherein a lot of times innovations come out without that direct end in mind, but then you'll have to make an effort to figure out where it fits into the market, right? So that's the point number three I would like to make in a short time, that if you are really looking at commercialization, then you need to be really thinking of it as a product, and therefore all the efforts and principles and the theories that are there to sell a product will apply here also. So I'll pause here, but just to summarize, I'll say intellectual property means IP strategy means strategy for creation, protection, and commercialization of the intellectual property. Number two, it's not standalone. It has to be tied down with everything else. And number three, that when you create something, you need to have your end in mind and use your principle, the same principles as you would use to sell a product. So I'll pause here and over to you,
Thank
Rahul.
you. Thank you, Nitin. So I'll take this question forward. I'll get Ankita to answer this. So suppose now, what about social and climate related, direction for IPR strategy? So should academia be thinking about in that direction? Is there investment or possibility of commercialization in that field?
First of all, thank you, Dr. Rahul, for having me here. And I must congratulate 10IP to organize this session because earlier it was like only IP or IP awareness, but now we are also talking with SDGs IP in mind. So that's really, really good. And as Nitin has already highlighted, that you need to seek the demand, you need to see the end goal, then only you'll be creating your IP strategy. And it also applies to the same, the impact investment. Because earlier it was like businesses seeking for the revenues, right? Even the academias earlier, whenever they're talking to industry, so they have a goal in mind, okay, how we can get the projects and get skilled our kids in there, or I mean, what should be the end goal for us, right? Maybe just having the internship and all these things. But now, what should be the objective of this thing, where we can impact, right? We need to seek that demand, then we can create something innovative for us in our surroundings, then we can actually go hand in hand with other stakeholders, for example big industry players, startups, or the SMEs, and maybe with the decision makers, government, and then seeking for the commercialization. Because whenever we are talking to other startups or the other industry players in Europe India business corridor, everyone is focusing on assets, what kind of assets we had created. Now their assets are actually how we are impacting us, right? It's not just in a particular geography, but now we are talking about global environment, right? So whomsoever startup or academia, if they're in India or maybe they're in Europe, they always seek to the thing how I can take up my technology in other places as well, right? Seeking for other market access. And then they are talking about the impact. So you need to keep everything in mind now. How we can go for the impact investment? First thing, like Nitin has highlighted so many points, so I can pick really points in there. So first thing, where is the demand? I'm always again and again focus on the demand aspect. Why? Because if you are in startup, SME, or even the big player, you can't go alone, right? You can't be a standalone factor. You need to talk to other players in the system. Then you can really work well, right? So first thing is you need to seek the demand. How you will seek the demand? You need to talk to other players. What's their demands as well, right? What they've already invented. Then you can talk about the technology. Then you can really see, okay, this is the market for us. Then you are going for the impact. Okay, what kind, if I'm creating this particular technology, where I can get the funding, if I can get the real funding around it, where I can use the infrastructure, and if infrastructure is there, what kind of impact I can create using it, right? Again, meeting with the other kind of stakeholders, because if you are not working in conjunction with other stakeholders, then you are not playing well, right? Even it applies for the academias, especially in Indian scenario, yes, especially for the academia, because in Europe and other geographies, industry and academia, they already have a very strong platforms and collaborations, but in India, this thing is moving upwards, but not as per the level, right? So if you're talking about certain kind of PPP project which can really bring the funding, infrastructure, and support from decision makers, because yes, again, regulatory aspects plays a very crucial role if you're talking about the impact, right? So I want to highlight one more factor in here, because whenever we talk about the impact plus regulatory affairs and the funding, so crucial things comes in the eyes of decision makers, what kind of sectors are actually crucial, right? Because earlier we have seen that e-gaming was so-called very buzzing word, right? Then comes the GST, and then you are like, okay, where we are. So likewise, edtech is there, healthcare is there. With the demand of the geographies, comes in picture, right? And then we need to pick up the demand. Then you can go for the impact. So I'll take a pause in here, and in next step, maybe I would like to provide you knowledge about the PPP framework. Yeah, over to you, Dr.
Mhm.
Rahul.
Thank you, Ankita. Thank you. I think I'll start with the questions, and after this, I'll open the questions to the audience. Maybe Nitin, I can ask you. This was a question that I had in mind. So we are talking about IP in the context of climate and in terms of climate and social impact and the SDGs in general. And these are very massive problems. They impact everyone on the planet, and those of some people of who it impacts maybe out of the ecosystem in which we live and we innovate. So and IP is a tool which is about say creating a monopoly over a invention, generating profits out of it. So basically, it's a business tool. So do you think they can work together? Climate and social aspect, which are global problems, impacts everyone, and IP, which is sounds rather exclusive.
Yeah, no, I think great point. I think so. So basically, I think if we really look at why IP system is there, right? If you really see patents, for example, is basically a contract between two parties, right? One party is the innovator, the other party is the government. Uh, both, and in any contract, both have to bring in something, right? Now, what is the goal? Why government is actually giving monopoly? See, it's not negative thing. Government is purposefully giving this monopoly to the innovators for certain years, right? And so, what is government getting in the return? Typically, the idea behind whole patenting system is that the government wants the problems in the society to be solved, right? And we all know that everybody needs food, water, clothes, and money, right, to survive. So, bearing people who have tons of money, if everybody else have to participate in this problem solving or solve problems for the society, they need to get some incentive. And we all know that R&D is so costly, right? One, it's an uncertain future. You don't know whether your products or solution will work or not, and things like that. So in order to incentivize that, hey, folks come in and solve it, you need to basically give that incentive, and that's what the government brings in, right? And the innovator in gets a monopoly for a limited period of time, so that whatever investments he or she has made, he can recover that. So that way, I think IP system is a great tool to promote innovation, right?
Mhm.
I'll just make another comment that if you see which are the main innovator countries in the world or where the innovation is coming from, you will realize that whether it's the smallest country in the world or it's the largest country in the world, the innovations have come out wherever there is a strong patenting system. So it is a great tool to spur innovation. And therefore, even in SDG sector, it is actually no different, which means it's going to be very useful in this sector as well if it is done right, right? So answer to your question one, the first answer to your question is yes, it's a great tool, right? Now let's look at what problems we are talking about in terms of SDG space, right? And what's happening out there. Water, I think there is a great NGO with whom we work. I also look after the CSR activities. So I come across some of these interesting NGOs, and they are actually doing some great work in purifying the water in different rural areas of the world of India, right? And for that, they actually have hired folks from IITs, right? So there's a technology angle there solving this problem. Now, if they are able to solve some of this problem and bring it out, of course they would like to have a recovery of the cost, because they are paying, they're right now getting this money from some funding and all that. But it's a system which will help take this solution to the next level. You look at vehicular movement, we are talking about electrical vehicles and all that. It's a huge industry. Again, as Ankita also mentioned earlier, you can't solve the problem alone, so you need to partner with it. Again, IP becomes a great partnership tool, right? If you don't have a protection of what you bring on the table, then if the other company is a bigger company than you, they can always subsume your stuff and you'll be kicked out. There are many examples of this in the industry, right? So again, it's a very important tool for us to collaborate and solve the problem in a collective way. Still not worry about, hey, I have done so much of it. What's in it for me? How can I recover my thing, right? So I think IP is again a great tool in that, and I think we have many examples, many burning problems wherein this is already working, and people are working very hard to solve the problems, and IP is actually a great enabler in that sense. Yeah, so I'll
Yeah,
pause here.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I think IP is a great tool. I think some examples you were saying, Ankita, I think has some examples. So we'll switch to her. So you were talking about this PPP model and also this case study of the living lab. I think that was that. So can you like elaborate on it and how it helps basically the institutes?
Absolutely. So whenever we talk about, because as just now Nitin has mentioned again, the point that you can't create standalone, and you when you are seeking for the problem, you need to protect yourself first, right? If you have something, you need to showcase, okay, what I have on table, right? So if you have that awareness in your mind, you are going in right direction. It means you already had seen the way that, okay, these are the problems and that's how I want to overcome and with whom I want to collaborate, right? So your pathways actually first level is already clear. Why I mentioned again and again this living lab term, because even if you are an SME or the big player or the startups, always one issue: how to customize technology as per the requirement of certain geography, right? If I have created something, for example, I'll take an example of an academia wherein spin-offs are there, right? So they had created in lab, very good. In the university, they had tested, very good. What about the next level? They again see a failure if they're not able to customize the technology. Because till level one, you are so confident that yes, I can really win the world and all things are in my hands and I have an IP. Okay, fine. But if you are moving to next level, if you really want to give your technology to another player to play off, right? If you really want to create your product, a complete product, and solving a bigger problem at the scale up level, then you need to customize. Then you seek the requirement of funding, approvals, and infrastructure from where you will get it. Then you need to partner with others, right? And if you are in the clear with the level one, then you need to approach to relevant stakeholders, right? How you will approach to them. Then comes the picture of this PPP model. So I'm sure that a lot of people must have heard about Amsterdam Innovation Arena. So that's the world's best self-sustainable model and example of a living lab wherein you can actually identify the demands and then seek for the POCs, doing the proof of concept, customize your technology with the help of all sort of relevant stakeholders in picture, and then creating the scale up technology level, right? It means your market access is in front of your eyes. Yes, I have demand in there, I have created this relevant technology, and I can really create my technology at the scale up level, right? So all hurdles are clear. So we had established this kind of you can say customize and adapted this kind of model in Triple IT Hyderabad with the help of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Smart City Mission, and State of Telangana. And of course, EBTC was in as in giving them strategic advisory along with Amsterdam Innovation Arena. So what we had done, we seek the input from the or the demand sector from the municipalities, right? For example, in state of Telangana, wastewater wastage is really an issue. Healthcare is an issue. Security is an issue. I'm talking about a particular geography right now, particular state, right? Then they seek the issues. Then they are like, okay, how we are going to really solve this problem? Because we know we have a good pool of startups, but again, every startup is not working on this solution, right? How we can approach to them? How we can contact them and how we can see that whether whatever solution they are bringing in picture, it's relevant for us, right? And at that time, Smart City Mission was also facing this problem that, okay, if we have a good technology platter, whether it's from other geographies as well, how it is going to be customized as per our requirement, as per our cities, right? And of course, Meti was having this Meti Startup Hub, a big platform in there, wherein all sort of challenges, all sort of players are there. But how they can actually give input to this kind of PPP level, that yes, if you are facing issues with the softwares or the platforms or maybe creating the sensors, how we can give you the relevant input. Then we seek help from each one of them, bringing everyone on a common platform. Okay, let's create a PPP model wherein each in its capacity will be bringing their inputs in there, right? Helping and supporting academia. Because when academia is making stronger in the place, they have set up this living lab, a dedicated place to do the POCs by running the challenges based on the demands. Startups are also in picture. Then SMEs are also part of it. They have very good line of decision makers who need actually their technology, and they are at the state of Telangana level. They have this approval. Okay, fine. If this technology is really good, I can adopt this technology further, right? It means you are creating really skilled manpower. You are creating a very good bond with the academia and industry, and you are really establishing a good example wherein you are seeking the self-sustainable model. It's not like that you are just seeking the funding from the government, but if other players are coming or the big industry is coming bringing their own vision, okay, I want to develop or I want to solve this particular problem, for example particular AI sensors or water sensors, how I can do it, right? Then they are giving this problem, startups are also solving, they are also solving, and joining hands they are really creating beautiful innovative solutions in picture. So this kind of model we had established around COVID time. We got the approval 2020, but now it's surviving well, thriving well, and we have, I should say, very good industry partners, big ones, and also the startup pool is there. And even government is also coming and seeking help. Okay, we have this particular problem. Please solve this for us, right? I was talking about this kind of example, but I really want to see that other academia partners should be seeking their help also, inspiring from them, because we need to remove this competitiveness. This is actually a closing barrier for us. We need to inspire us after seeing their model, and okay, let's join hand with them, let's set up a big living lab, set up around India, right, pan India, wherein we are taking help from each other, creating good data sets, and then we can really create a revolution out of it by solving the homegrown solutions for our India. So that was the model I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So now we are going to open the questions to the audience. People, please write your questions in the chat. One by one, we are going to take them. So I can maybe start with a question. It's more of a general question. These UN Sustainable Development Goals, they are the biggest problems in the planet. So this is how they are projected, but not necessarily the best startup ideas. So what happens with say companies, at least they are thinking of good demand, and not just good demand but say good profits. So do you think that we might be solving problems but they might not be profitable? So in that sense there may not be that much of a demand. That so this is why what my thinking is, which is probably it could be wrong. So do you have any words on that? So you can take, anyone can take this question really.
Well, okay, I can share my comments. So I think you're right. I mean, as a technologist who is solving a problem, that's always a problem, right? How do you basically take your solution out in the market? Now, that's why whether it's a startup, whether it's an NGO, whether it's an academic institute, you need a strong team of not just the technologist, but also the marketing guy or a sales guy, or a person with a complementary skill set, right? Now, it's not so much about going and selling out that product, but it's also going and talking about the usability, making partnerships, and all this. Now, I'll tell you, in lines of the what Ankita had shared, I think we have quite a few interesting things going on around this, right? So in Telangana, we have Telangana State Innovation Council. They basically bring out all the innovations that is happening in the state and make a showcase of it. My particular interest was in for people with disabilities. So we looked at there was a whole day presentations from the startups who are building assistive technology products. And in that, it caught attention to our eyes, 2 or 3 solutions of that. So we approached those startups, figured out what they are doing, and now trying to build those things into our CSR programs, right? Now, these are the ways of doing things, right? It's not just that, okay, can I go and sell the product in the market? No, there are other ways to do that, right? If the product meets the quality requirement, right? Because see, the lab is one thing, lab concept prototype is one thing, but when it goes and meets the real harshness of the market and the real road, you will see the challenges. So the quality aspect have to build in. So if your product has those quality aspects got in, then I'm sure it will spread out because the need is so much. Money will never be a shortage. That's what my feeling is, right? Because you have government funds waiting to be deployed. You have CSR funds now growing in a huge space. I think that's again an Indian innovation, I should say, from 2014. It's there for these kind of problems. There are foundations which are actually looking at and talking about some of it. So I think there are money will never be a problem, but I think the it will never happen sitting in your own space. And it's not good to expect a great technologist to go out and market. So my answer to this is it's doable. There are successful models that Ankita ji has shared and what I have seen around here working, but they need some work.
Yeah, let's take the same question, extend it a bit. Maybe Ankita, you can take it. So, in a country like India, so is India different? So, Dr. Anamitra Roy is asking, is India different? Are there, because I was also in Europe. I did my PhD in Finland, and I felt also that the inventors there also were not very aware about IP commercialization. So they were, also having similar problems. But what do you think about India specifically?
uh, Answer is like, I mean, it depends. Excuse me. It depends on the experience as well, right? What kind of experience with what kind of partners you are having. Because there are two, three examples which we see even in Europe. Problems arises, right? If you are not clear in your goals, problem definitely will be there, and you need to be transparent. What you want to really achieve, where you are, you need to be transparent while communicating to other partners, right? This is the first key pointers I should see. If you are in India, I know mindset is also sometimes different, cultural issues are also there. Because if you really want to convince one partner or the decision maker taking for the approval, then it's really really difficult, right? You want to deploy your solution, and then you are going to different departments wherein actually there is no sync. You have to go department to department and seeking approvals, right? Yes, there are issues, but on the technological level, if you are like Nitin has mentioned, if you have that quality, your technology is actually good, you will not face issues. But you really
Mhm.
should be able to convince that other partner is also going to be win-win situation, right? That's also one of the very important factor in Indian aspect, because especially when you are going to all of your PPP members. I'm taking just an example for a startup. For example, a startup, one water waste management startup is there. They have very good solution in there, right? But they're like, again, a technologist there, very good technology is there. But if he is not able to convince other partners why they should deploy their technology, why what they are getting in return, then it's really going to be difficult. So,
Mhm.
like Nitin again has mentioned, we should not be expecting a just technologist to do everything, right? So, in a team, you need to have a salesperson or a person, strategic person who can actually convince other partner, yes, this is a technology, and he or she should be able to communicate in a manner that it should be understandable by other person as well. It should not be in some technological jargons you are trying to
Yeah,
explain to people. I mean, sitting on higher positions or in different route, and then you are saying, okay, they are not giving us fund, they are not supporting us. How? If you're
yeah.
not able to really tell them that what's the demand, what's the issue you want to resolve, and what you are expecting, and what they should expect from you. So this kind of, I
Mhm.
think, communication, good communication system needs to be in place. I think then there will not
Yeah.
be.
Technology commercialization is all about marketing. So it's like you have to be able to market your own solution. So there's one question earlier this came, Harshit Srivastava. It's rather general. Can we do technology transfer after patents gets granted? What are its benefits? Uh, uh,
Yeah.
Nitin, would
I
you like to?
should I go or
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
can
Please,
discuss,
please.
then I'll add on. Yeah, please.
okay? Yeah, I mean, your rights get assigned to you once the patents are granted. So the answer is yes, you actually do a technology transfer only after the patents are granted, right? Because that's when your rights get solidified and accrued. Um, Now, if you're asking about what's the benefit of transfer, technology transfer, if that's the case, then I think it's a in a generic way. I would say that hey, you have a technology, you have a product in form of technology know-how that you are sharing with others, and depending on how you are sharing it, there are benefits to both the parties, right? The other party who's receiving the technology can benefit from the expertise you have brought in and the solutions that you've brought in and accelerate their work, whatever their work is, right? It's a product development or a whatever, right? and you as a technologist gets rewarded for your inventions and partnerships so that you can continue to do your work and do more. So based on the question, I guess that's probably what I would say.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit to your answer, extending on it. So, whenever you do technology transfer, please keep in mind whom you are giving, right? Because there are other partners maybe who can use your technology in different manner, right? Adopting in different manner. So, please, your case scenario one, two, three, whom you are giving with the clauses should be very, very clear. Because whenever you had created a technology or file for the patent, at that time only you must have created a market access or a landscape for your own sake, right? So if that in that strategy or the landscape you clearly have your competitors or the other person or maybe the other person who will come to you for help or maybe for the infringement whatsoever validation purpose, so all sort of scenarios should be very, very clear in your notebook and then mapping with each one of them. So, and putting up the right clauses in picture, because when you had done your technology transfer, after then you are realizing, oh, I maybe had done patent, next patent on it, on topping of it, and maybe had done other sort of IP. So you should be very, very clear in your goals. So yeah, that's my 2 cents in here.
Mhm. Yeah, we have one good question, maybe difficult question. So Sudeshna Pal, she asks, what role can businesses play in achieving sustainable growth development in no poverty? So no poverty is one of the SDGs for the audience who may not know. So no poverty is one of the SDG goals. So through inclusive and sustainable economic growth. So like how businesses can contribute to this, no poverty goal.
Okay, I can go first if so. I think one of the ways, as I was mentioning, is the CSR part, right? So now it is mandatory for companies beyond certain level to set aside 2% of their revenue, their profits or whatever, right, to this. A great tool, because then that gives a focus to solve the problems. Now you have highlighted a problem as no poverty, right? I think there are many ways to look at this problem and say how we can grow it, right? The way I would look at it, or at least one of the ways I would look at it, is to skill people. I think the one of the biggest reason why we have poverty in India is that the people are not skilled. Even though we have a lot of young population, it's not skilled. That's point number one across the board, right? The second problem is how do you make the inclusivity by bringing in people with disabilities, women especially, into the working segment, right? Because if you bring these aspects also into the workforce of India, the poverty elevation will happen very quickly. What companies and businesses can do that? As I said, we do a lot of skilling for both people with disabilities as well as for women empowerment. So I think the idea is to how you can improve their employability, right? That's definitely some of these things that can help us elevate poverty. Many other ideas, but I'll pause, and I'm sure Ankita will have some great ideas as well.
I will just add one more idea in here because I was earlier just want to talk about the skilling thing. But yes, you need to stop this rural and urban exchange, right? We need to create the platform wherein people should not be moving from rural to urban places, and that's you do by skilling people, right? They should be able to develop that sense of independence, that sense of pride. Whatever we are doing, we are contributing in economy, right? Because what I see when even you're talking in your life with the people, right? If there are kids from government schools or whatsoever, I don't want to name, but still I've see from my eyes. That's why I'm sharing this experience, because we have this kind of notion that if someone is coming from the rural place, right, so he or she may not be having this kind of particular ability to do it, right? So we need to develop this kind of platform. Especially businesses can really, really create this kind of good platform. So like Qualcomm is already doing help to grow, right? So this CSR funding, if can be extended to the rural areas, identifying their skilled guys or the guys who actually want to do something, so help them out, whatever they are doing based on their demands, we can set up the places like CSCs were there. But yes, identifying the demands again, whom are the people who can actually contribute in the system, and setting up the framework wherein they can actually giving to economy back, right? When they have this sense of pride, then they will see real value. Okay, I'm not going to move further in any other places, I want to develop other people as well around me. So you are creating a cascading effect, train the trainers, right? And then you will build a complete ecosystem, because this is going to be an inspiration for others as well. If someone sees, yes, this is really happening, so others will get inspired. And using that again, you will create a network wherein they can exchange ideas. And yes, then going to be, I think, complete inclusive ecosystem in there. And everyone needs to contribute in this, even it's a small to small player, whether a vendor, whether a small shopkeeper, everyone can contribute in the idea. So these are my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, food is a innovation. A lot of innovation always happens in the food, because 50 years down the line, we will be eating completely different food than what we probably. And no poverty, lack of poverty is not just lack of food; it's also lack of nutrition. And there's this startup in Finland who came up with protein made out of thin air. So they had certain way how they're going to extract protein out of air, uh, and then that it will be a tasteless protein, and it can be added to common food items like bread, and basically to spike up the nutritional value of anything. Actually, this happened also back in the 1930s. There was like a lot of poverty, so to say, in India, and these glucose biscuits that we still have, like Parle-G and all, they are brands from the 1930s. These Glucon D glucose biscuits like Parle-G, they were invented during that time, because there was a lack of simply getting energy was a thing back in the day. So I think this timeline is very huge for food innovation, because habits don't change very fast. But obviously there is a lot of innovation going on for in this, especially in this no poverty.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a loaded question and area, right? I mean, poverty, as you rightly said, can be looked at it from multiple angles, and a lot of innovation can happen in there. Um, I think one of the very interesting project that we came across, I think I should share that, is to focus on families which have income less than 5,000 rupees a month, right? So we created a program in which basically we are looking at women, and I mean it as a center of the family, whether it's if she is single owner, I mean bread earner, or even if she is married, husband is there, but income is not enough because of more members, etc. So how do you enable them, right? Because poverty line, if you have to bring them up, and we felt that women is a very central entity to this whole thing because of various reasons. So we created a program around that wherein you create a small group in a village or a community. You bring in some women members of the community, and then you try to do certain things. Number one, you figure out what are the local schemes in the government that's going on. You connect with them, right? Because majority of the time they don't have awareness. Number two, you create a pool of funds, right? That goes into a kitty. Any one of them can take a loan sort of amount and help them create a unique business for them, right? So we created a business for a, like as a tailor shop, or for a restaurant kind of a thing, or for a animal rearing and dairy product out of it, and even a loan to buy an auto so that the male person in the family can run it. And that amount comes back because it's a sense of community, and after 3-4 years they'll give it back. It also has an element of education to their kids. So all in all, it's a holistic thing, and successfully in 3-4 years, you have seen every single family have come out of the poverty benchmark. So it's such an overloaded thing. It includes education, it includes nutrition, it includes your social respect, all of that aspect that gets built in. Some beautiful innovations have come out as part of this goal, I should say. So anyway, I think we are deviating a little
Yeah,
bit from the IP part, but I thought it's probably interesting to mention that.
let's keep seeing. I think we have some 10 minutes. So, folks, this is your time. Get your questions answered, appear on the live stream. Yash, Nilesh, Soman, if I have physics-driven product-based startup whose mechanism I want to patent, is there a way by which I can quickly protect in India first and explore protection in other countries later? Okay, okay.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course. I
so,
mean, you
uh,
can. Sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Is
please,
there
please, yes, yeah, I was.
Okay, I was just saying that yes, of course, you can always do that. You can always file a provisional that gives you a year to file in, and then if you have concretized your idea, you can file a PCT that gives you another 31 months to kind of figure out which countries you want to go. So I think you can build your plan, IP plan or IP strategy around what is the state of the product, what is the potential market that you think your product will be useful, and hence you can carve out your plan. And just I should mention that there are a lot of schemes from time to time to get some incentives in not just Indian filing but also foreign filing. I don't know the latest status, but I think at some
Mhm.
point, of course, the government of India was giving subsidy on filing an international patent.
Yeah, yeah. There was a question by R.S. Kiran. Could the patents be filed for free? Do you know any grants like that? I mean, of course, it's not free because there is always government fees and attorney fees. But is there a possibility for students and academics?
For startups, so yeah, I mean, scheme is there in Indian Patent Office, wherein attorneys they can use attorneys and pen attorneys from their side, and they can get the reimbursement out of it. But
Hmm.
first important point really want to highlight that please check, please do the prior art search, a good prior art search. If you really want to file, whether in India or abroad, but please seek whether your patent is really going to be valid and what you really want to do in future, because that will really drive your way forward in there. So yeah.
Yeah. One more question. Similar uh, regarding patent right. How to identify the thrust area? I think this session was about that, but maybe I missed something in the question that you can think of. How to identify the thrust area idea to the patent in engineering applications. So basically, how to find the thrust area where you should patent.
So I think you should use patent databases more often. You should skim through it. Like a Sparsnet is there, from FIPO is there, an Indian patent database is there, right? So you should skim through all these patents. What kind of latest technology updates are happening? Going through the technology landscape reports, right? So please put up the keywords and identify the keywords or the sectors wherein what you want to do exactly. Then search for what others have done. Then compare yourself. Then of course, if you do that white spacing, you will see where are the thrust areas, what you can do in there. So you want to
Okay.
add any?
Yeah, yeah. I would rather ask the question, why do you want to file a patent? If you can give me an answer to that, then I can probably give you my answer. Right?
All right. So
The reason my sorry, please go ahead. If somebody
no, no,
will
please,
answer.
please. Yeah, yeah. If you, yeah, yeah.
No, no.
Please go ahead.
So I was saying basically, is your goal to just file a patent? Then I can give you 10 ideas wherein you can easily get a grant and you can show that. And people call it as resume patents, that at times there was a scheme in government R&D centers that if you file a patent and it gets granted, you get promotions, right? Or you can get a PhD degree in some colleges. So those are called as resume patents. So if your goal is that, then all you need to do is figure out something which is novel, and maybe you can argue for inventiveness. That's one thing, right? But rather, I would say flip your thinking process and then say, what are you doing right now? Are you a startup? Are you a researcher? Who are you at this point? And then, as I said, again, the central to this whole thing, IP system, is innovation, right? If you are I'm sure you're a bright guy and you're looking for areas to solve the problem, maybe from SDG, then look up the SDG goals, right? Look at the how do you reduce the electricity consumption or a coal burning or a petrol thing, like a great area, right? If you're looking for SDG goals and all that, you look at all the 4 5 SDG goals and then see where you can solve the problem and through technology, and that could be one thing. If you're a researcher, then I'm sure you will want to figure out in the your own expertise area. If you're a communication engineer, then there are tons of problems in communication that you can look at. And as Ankita said, go and look at what others are filing, what's the hot area. It can be a great guide to you. But then if I tell you something else which is beyond your research area, then that may not help you, right? So the point is, I think where do you want to innovate is the question. And if you're wide open in the areas, then go and pick up some SDG goals or any other goals, right? That are there. But I would just say that, really know why you want to do this. I think that's the key part.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. There's one question which a similar question I wanted to ask basically kind of. So, Dr. Manavalan, Professor Dr. Manavalan, what is the IP status in India? So, my question, I also wanted to add my question. Basically, what do you think? How is IP going in India? Is it really going well, or is there too many problems still? Like in general, like what do you think? It's a good question. I think. What is the IP status in India?
Yeah. Ankita, you want to go first or should I go first? Either way is fine.
Okay. You can go first, then I'll add on.
Okay. So this question again, in my opinion, is multiple, can go in multiple directions, right? When you say intellectual property status in India, let's start with some quick stats. I think this year, Patent Office has probably granted 1 lakh patents in India. I think that's what they were targeting for. So if you're looking from a number point of view, yes, that's a good number because that's a significant jump from previous years. There is a first time in India wherein the domestic patent filers have surpassed the international filers, right? So that's the other stats you can say which can indicate the status in India, right? Now, India from a patent IP country, right, or a IP jurisdiction point of view, it's a fairly new country, or we are very, very young, I would say, if I'm comparing the best of the worlds. US is more than 200 years old. In 1776, the Constitution talked about protecting inventions. Can you believe that? Right? UK or Europe, the first patent was filed in 1500 and something, whatever in UK. And if you are very interested in patenting, you go and read the history of James Watt, right? And how the patenting system transformed that world. So we are talking about centuries of it, right? Versus India aligned itself with the global patenting system in 2005 only. That too with a lot of pushback and with the it was forced upon us, right? From there we have come up in a way very fast in terms of change in mindset, in terms of approach that we take as a country, right? The 2016 IPR policy has changed a lot. The patent offices have become super efficient now. The pendency has reduced to like as good as any other country in the world, right? We are promoting IP in terms of startup. You look at Startup India website. The as Ankita mentioned, there are list of patent practitioners who can file it for you for free. Government will pay them. Lot of incentives. A lot of focus by government to improve innovation, especially in the research side. So earlier, the PhD was granted only when you do a research paper, which was changed to include patents as well. NIRF ranking included the number of patents up until some time ago, but I hear from my academic friends that these years they are also looking at how much you have commercialized it. So all these indicators are great indicators to say that India is on a great path, on a very right path. Having said that, we have a lot of ground to cover. So if you want to compare with the best of the worlds, we have long ground to cover. But with the direction that it has taken, I'm quite positive and optimistic that this will grow better. It's just that we have to understand this very much, right? And basically I would say that the awareness of IP, the nuances of how IP strategy should build and all of that, I think there's a huge gap in the country in terms of awareness. And I think that's where this kind of webinars and the efforts that everybody is making towards making this awareness is commendable, but a lot more needs to be done. Ankita,
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have already pretty much covered everything. So for IP status, we should see other aspects. Then only you'll be able to see the impact of IP, right? If your prime minister really is talking about the number of patents, if all of the decision makers really talking about the manufacturing industry, how others are coming in doing the collaboration or cooperation with our companies, right? And if other geographies really coming to us and saying yes, let's evolve guidelines in different domain space, so we are on the right track. Because without all these things, we are not going to be doing without IP, right? It means we are doing something right. As Nitin has already mentioned, we are on the right track. Surpassing 1 lakh, yes, it's a great number. But again, we need to focus on our demands, how we can create the even the guidelines or the technology for us, and then go for the global. So yeah, I'll stop in
Hmm.
here.
Yeah. I went to a engineering college here in Kolkata today. There was a packed audience, like third year and final year students of engineering, and I gave a talk on IP, and I got so many invitations. I'm still speaking till Monday. So all these academic institutes, they are conducting these IP awareness sessions throughout the year. So this is something that I could not have imagined, say, in my time as an engineering student, and also maybe I don't know 10 years ago if someone was talking about IP in that way. So I think many people are getting sensitized, and we'll see the fruits of that, going forward. So I think we have passed the 6 p.m. time. So really sorry if we could not take the last questions, but if you really have to, please send me an email. I might connect you to the speakers over here. And with this, I thank you, Ankita and Nitin. Thanks to the speakers their valuable time. I thank the audience for being present over here. At least I can see 176, 179 people on the live stream uh, concurrently. So that's great. Shows your enthusiasm. Despite ending the day ending the week on a Friday, you are here discussing about IT. So it's great. I can see many messages. Nice session, and thank you. So wonderful. If you have any last words, Ankita and Nitin, will be great. And then after that, we'll end the session.
Yeah. No, I should say thank you and many congratulations to you so that you're able to get so many audience who are really willing to listen to us. And I'm sure that they will implement this as well in future. Good luck to all.
Same here. I think this is great. I think India has a great potential. There is no dearth of problems in India. I mean, there's a question earlier: is India different? Yes, India is different, but yes, India is. It has same challenges as others have, but it's our turn now as a country, and I'm sure there's great opportunity ahead, and IP will play a great role in it. So continue to build expertise around this. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I wish you also a great weekend ahead, and looking forward to host you in other Turnip events. This session was sponsored by Qualcomm. There are links in the description. You should check out the L2 Pro platform, which is a free platform to learn about IPR. They have basic, intermediate, and advanced courses, and also you can get a really solid certification free of charge. And there are many other links in the description. So check out the description, and hope to see you in future sessions. Thank you to Ankita and Nitin once again. Looking forward to stay in touch. And goodbye for now.
Thank you. Have a great
So
day.
thank
Bye.
you. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.